Utah Senator Mitt Romney is also calling his colleagues' investigation a political exercise. Quoting Romney here, it's not the legitimate role of government for Congress or for taxpayers' expense to be used in an effort to damage political opponents. For more on this, let's welcome in current Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. He's also a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and former Congressman and former federal prosecutor Bob Barr sticking around with us. Congressman Reschenthaler, thanks for joining us. Congressman Barr, thanks for sticking around with us. Let's go to you first, Congressman Reschenthaler. Do you think this is a legitimate use of taxpayer funds and the Senate's time? Mitt Romney doesn't seem to think so.
Well, John, thanks for having me on first and foremost, and please just call me Guy. Now, as far
second reference, okay, but the first time when I introduce you, I got to be formal here. We're all wearing
totally understand, but Guy is all that is needed, just Guy.
Okay.
But okay, so let's talk about whether or not this is appropriate. It absolutely is an appropriate action of government to investigate those that literally turned the FBI into a political operating machine. If you look at the comments that are being made by Romney, I wish Romney would have fought Obama half as hard as he fights President Trump and current day Republicans, because if he had, Romney probably would have been president by now. But as Romney sits there and plays footsies with the Democrats, he forgets the fact that the Democrats weaponize the FBI against Republicans, totally overlook the fact that Hunter Biden had this deal with Ukrainian oil and gas company when Hunter Biden knew nothing about corporate governments, when he knew nothing about oil and gas, yet he was getting paid $50,000 a month to be on that board. And let's not forget the fact that James Comey and what I call the merry band of never Trumpers of the FBI, they intentionally try to gum up the works with the transition of power. The hallmark of American government is the fact that we have peaceful transitions of power. And Comey was trying to gum up the works and entrap members of the incoming administration. That of course needs to be investigated and looked at, all the above. And the fact that Romney is having an issue with it, I don't really know what his angle here is, but I can tell you
I think you know.
I
think you know, Guy. He has this bone to pick with President Trump, and that's what this is really about. Congressman Barr, when we look at this situation, though, I think Congressman Reschenthaler makes a lot of good points. There is a legitimate reason for an investigation here, but you look at Congress's track record, and I'm not specifically talking about this Senate committee, but Benghazi or the impeachment. Congress doesn't have the best track record when it comes to these types of investigation, and the American people definitely want answers here. Is this the best body to be getting to the bottom of the origins of Crossfire Hurricane?
It's certainly the appropriate body to do so, but my question is, where were they months and months and months ago? Bringing this forward now is certainly a legitimate reason for becoming involved and issuing subpoenas, for heaven's sake, as Guy just mentioned, where you have instruments of the U.S. government, the FBI and the intelligence community being used to go after a presidential candidate, a president-elect, and then a sitting president is an outrageous abuse of power. And if anything calls for an investigation, oversight by the Congress, this does. But the fact that they waited until a month and a half before the election, I think, indicates the tin ear that many of these folks in the Senate in particular have. They should have done this a long time ago to avoid the appearance that it is for political reasons, which I don't think it is, but it gives that appearance because of the timing.
And Guy, back to Romney, they don't talk to you guys a lot in the House, do they? I mean, you guys have been leading the kind of charge on this stuff. They never come over there. They can't be bothered, right?
Well, I will say this. I think there's a reason. Look, we're a bicameral system. The Senate and House operate independently to a large degree. That's by design. But yes, I was never consulted, or I would have said, let's investigate this from day number one of my getting here. But we have to remember that we had the Mueller report. We had the Durham investigation. So there has been attempts. The problem is the Mueller report turned out to be a lot of garbage. And we can go back to what was not included in there, and the fact that even the Mueller report, this waste of money, said there was no collusion, there was no obstruction. Yet the obstruction, the abuse of power, that all took place under James Comey, not President Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot that we got to get to the bottom of here. We're running out of time, unfortunately. To your point, Congressman Barr, it would have been great to have this information a long time ago. Now everybody thinks this close to the election, it's simply being done for political reasons. I guess we have to wait to find out what the real answer is. Before we go, guys, I wanted to get both of your legal opinions on is it legal for Joe Biden? He wants to consider a nationwide mask mandate. He says he might even use an executive order to do so should he be elected. Here he is.
Our legal team thinks I can do that based upon the degree to which there's a crisis in those states and how bad things are for the country. And if we don't do it, what happens? But I would make the case. I'd make the case why it's necessary.
So, Congressman Barr, who is Joe Biden's legal team that thinks it's legal for the President of the United States to tell states that they have to have this kind of mask mandate?
Well, it's probably people like Eric Holder, who believe that the federal government can do whatever it wants as long as it says it's doing it for an emergency. And unfortunately, there are innumerable precedents for such overreach by Republican presidents as well. I don't think that this is in any way, shape, or form a legitimate constitutionally based exercise of executive power, federal power. But there are a lot of ways that it could be done. Withholding federal funds under the Commerce Clause somehow. But it's not legitimate. It's not constitutional. But there are plenty of precedents, unfortunately, for doing it.
Guy, there's just a ruling from a judge in the state of Pennsylvania, striking down Tom Wolf's mandatory lockdown order. And I love what the judge said, something about, even if the ends are laudable and the laws are well-meaning, this is when we have to be very concerned about the encroachment on our constitutional rights. When lawmakers have the best intentions, we all want the result to be this, but we cannot give up our constitutional rights just because of those reasons.
Yes, well, Judge Stickman in Western Pennsylvania, he wrote that opinion. If anybody hasn't read it, please pull it up and read it. It reads like a second Declaration of Independence. It's truly an amazing document, an amazing opinion. But he says that the Constitution is not a fair weather document. It applies in times of crisis, just like it does in times of tranquility. And he also does a good job paraphrasing Ben Franklin, saying that those who would give up their freedoms for a little bit of security will get neither and deserve neither. Now, obviously, Judge Stickman and Ben Franklin said a lot better than I just did there with paraphrasing it, but that gets to the heart of it. And you were asking if Joe Biden would have the power to have this mask mandate. That would fall to a general policing power, general welfare power that is designated to the states. And even as the states have done such overreach, you see that judges now, like Judge Stickman in Western Pennsylvania, are declaring these actions unconstitutional. So it's debatable if the governors even have the power to do this, John.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot more lawsuits filed in civil court, too, as a result of this. Business owners fighting back. Congressman Barr, thank you so much. And Guy Reschenthaler, great to see you as well. We'll talk again real soon.